our coverage. We are breaking into your local coverage due to 2 severe thunderstorm warnings that have been issued by the National Weather Service. These severe thunderstorm warnings continue on until 8 o'clock this morning as 2 relatively potent cells make their way towards the Holland, Saugatuck, Douglas region, and then another cell that makes its way just a little bit to the south of that, South Haven, Hartford, Paw Paw. Those are the other areas that need to watch out for this next cluster of storms that's going to make itself known to land. Now, these storms themselves could potentially have some hail embedded with them. It's typically inch in diameter hail that takes us to a severe threat. But let's go ahead. I'll look inside the storm itself. This is a thing that we use to be able to see within the storm and see how much ice potential is going up within the cloud. And as you can see, starting to get a little bit higher on the scale. So those of you Holland, Saugatuck, stretching down through that Douglas region, there is the low end potential that you do see some hail, potentially quarter-sized or higher embedded within that. And then Benton Harbor, right now, that storm over the heart of you. If you do have any severe weather reports, we do ask that you wait until after the storm has passed before you go ahead and give us those reports.
And I want to just go back to velocity. So what you're going to see here, folks, is just a kind of a signature of our wind product across West Michigan here. So this is velocity, looking at the sample of winds in our atmosphere. And something I've just been noticing here in that core of the storm, Sam, a little bit of a what we call couplet developing, and all that means for you is that we have inbound and outbound winds from the radar site in Grand Rapids and Cascade Township at the Ford International Airport. Now this is several thousand feet away from the radar site. So this is measuring pretty high up, not ground level, pretty high up in our atmosphere, but still kind of noticing just a little bit of broad rotation trying to develop here in the heart of that storm. At the very least, I think right in here just to the north and east of Benton Harbor, kind of noticing some of those brighter greens popping up here on our velocity product, and that's just indicating there could be some stronger winds mixing down to the surface. But just keeping a close eye on that inbound and outbound signature that's pretty close together over the last few radar scans. That's something definitely keeping an eye on as the storm progresses into Buren County, and eventually, if it continues its path eastward, it's going to be right along I-94 heading into Van Buren County. So we're just talking south of the Hartford and Lawrence communities, right along 94, if this continues at its strength and its current momentum to the east. So something we're keeping an eye on. We're going to go back to radar here.
Yeah, it's going to be that Holland, Douglas to Saugatuck region, Zeeland as well. Port Shelton, a little bit on the north side of this system, but it could not hurt to seek shelter from that storm. Yeah, that's the area that I'm seeing the most potent portion of this northern system that is warned right now for Allegan County. Now, I understand those of you in Holland, you're not in Allegan County, meaning that you're not necessarily underneath the severe thunderstorm warning, but I am going to ask you at this time to treat it as though you are and seek shelter from this system. The system itself is moving at about 40 miles per hour to the east, with potentially 60 mile per hour wind gusts. That would, of course, meet it to severe criteria. And in addition to the strong winds and potential rotation embedded in the storm, there's also heavy torrential rainfall coming down. That alone is causing a risk on the roadways. That alone is the reason that we issued our 13 weather impact alert today, Blake, was because of the moderate to heavy rainfall that we've been experiencing since 2 o'clock this morning. Now you couple in the potential for 60+ mile per hour winds, as well as rotation moving through this system, creating a really dangerous situation itself.
Yeah, especially the timing here. We don't think about severe thunderstorms here in West Michigan during at 7 in the morning, but we had that happen just several weeks ago in Muskegon County as those stronger thunderstorms came in. So no matter what time it is, despite it being 7 in the morning, we still can see severe weather, which is possibly the case going on right now in parts of Van Buren and Allegan County. Do want to highlight though that if you're watching from Muskegon, you're watching from Pentwater, back towards Big Rapids, you are just seeing your run-of-the-mill rain right now. No severe weather as of now expected north of Van Buren and Allegan County as of now, and I think that's going to hold true over the course of this morning. Our focus really turns to these two thunderstorms that are near and just to the south of Holland. So if you're watching north of the greater Grand Rapids area, you're just contending with rainfall this morning, but still a little bit on the dangerous side. Just as you head out the door in the morning commute, hydroplaning, a little bit of concern, that reduced visibility. But it is these two thunderstorms right here, one heading into Allegan County, one that's right around Buren, Van Buren, the county line. Do you want to put lightning on? And there's a decent amount of lightning with this storm. Torrential rainfall, as typical in any stronger thunderstorm, but it's really coming down to some of the stronger wind gusts that are being detected on our wind product velocity, and also the potential for some small hail. And with some of the broad rotation being detected over the heart of Lake Michigan and now trying to make its way over onshore, we do have to keep an eye on the potential that a spin-up tornado does develop over the next 30 to 45 minutes. Still keeping an eye on some of that broad rotation near northern Buren County, just north of Benton Harbor.
Yeah, this still is relatively broad rotation, but worth noting, worth watching and monitoring. It's tricky when a storm is moving off of Lake Michigan onto land. We know how much the dynamics of that storm itself can change as it switches from water to land, and there's certainly some broad rotation also embedded within the cell that's moving its way towards Allegan County, but I will say it is still relatively broad rotation at that. Now, if you're just joining us and joining into our coverage, we do have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings at play right now, both for Allegan as well as Van Buren County. The National Weather Service issued this storm about 20 minutes ago, or this warning, I should say, about 20 minutes ago, and it remains in effect until 8 a.m. Those of you in Dorr, Pawpaw, Wayland, South Haven, Saugatuck, Douglas, those are the areas that are mainly going to be impacted by this system. And I do believe that the further east that this system travels, the more it's going to weaken. And that's because we have had a lot of rainfall throughout the day today. That type of environment does not necessarily condone fueling a storm. So with the amount of rainfall that we've had, hopefully it will continue to hinder this system as it makes its way off to the east. I'll go ahead and throw a track on this storm so that you know when it's going to impact your area. Now, the leading edge of the storm is already impacting those of you Allegan, I actually should say in Allegan County, Holland, Saugatuck, Douglas, but the part of the storm that's still currently sitting over Lake Michigan off to the west, that's the portion of the storm that I want us to watch closely where that potential rotation could be, and that will make it to right around 7:23 this morning. Those of you in Pawpaw, 7:45, this system will make it towards your area. And Kalamazoo, I do expect by the time it reaches that region for it to have weakened, but right now we are going to continue on to monitor if they end up putting Kalamazoo County underneath that severe thunderstorm warning. Now, it's not just the rotation itself that we're watching closely, it's also the fact that we could see just severe wind gusts. So another thing that we always like to mention in a storm like this is to go ahead and close your garage door. If your garage door is open, that can cause more damage to your home than what I'm certain that you want to happen during a system like this. What exactly do you do if you are stuck in your vehicle in a system like this? Well, here's some safety tips overall. You want to make sure that you stop the car. You want to make sure that you leave the car running so that your airbags will deploy, and go ahead and keep that seatbelt on. But of course, most ideally, we would not like you to be in your car this morning. We would like you to be seeking shelter in one of the safest places that you can, and that's going to be inside your basement. This is because there aren't windows. A lot of times when rotation or even just strong damaging winds works through an area, it can topple over trees, it can cause windows to shatter inward, and we want to make sure that we are as far away as possible from any windows. With it impacting places like Saugatuck, Douglas, the lakeshore boundary, lots of campsites around there, we need to get out of our campers and find a safe shelter location in that instance. There is never a case scenario that something like a mobile home or a campsite is safe when we're talking 60+ mile-per-hour winds, as well as the potential for rotation. Now, with a severe thunderstorm warning at place, that means the time is now to take action. The time is now to seek shelter, and that's because because of the ingredients that are embedded within this storm itself, that 58+-mile-per-hour winds. Everybody is experiencing widespread rainfall, but I want those of you who are north of the 96 corridor, that includes Grand Haven, Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Big Rapids, Leadington, to let your guards down a little bit. You are not underneath these severe thunderstorm warnings at this time, and while yes, you are contending with moderate to heavy rainfall, you aren't necessarily seeing that thunder, the lightning, the strong damaging winds that those to the south of us currently are. These storms are moving to the east at about 40 miles per hour, but even with that, with the broad scope of these storms that do have a supercell-like nature to them, it's going to take some time before the heart of the storm itself makes it onto land. Blake, I know that you were checking in with the National Weather Service there a second ago. Do they have any updates on this system as it continues to move east?
No update as of now. Still holding on to the warning that they put out, roughly 20 minutes ago. Again, these are two thunderstorms that are making their way onshore, one of which, as Sam has mentioned, Allegan County, the other of which kind of that northern half of Berrien County into Van Buren County. This is the storm, the southern cell, Sam, that I really keeping an eye on, just because of some of that broad rotation that we continue to notice here. Generally speaking, this is right in here. You can kind of see where the greens and reds are. That's just indicating that there are some inbound and outbound winds from the radar site at the Ford International Airport in Grand Rapids being noticeable. And this is sampling winds probably several thousand feet in our atmosphere, just of the nature of the radar beam, because it is a far distance from Grand Rapids, but still indicating that there is some elevated rotation, some broad rotation high up in this thunderstorm, and that is enough for us to stay on the air here on 13 on your side, cutting into Good Morning America because of the messaging of this severe thunderstorm warning with the possibility a spin-up tornado could develop. We will be staying on the air and interrupting Good Morning America until this threat comes to an end. We also have that thunderstorm, same type of messaging here, that's heading into Allegan County, just near into the south of Holland. So definitely right in the heart of Saugatuck, Douglas, Fenville, for example, Gaines Township. That is where we're really keeping an eye on as well for additional stronger thunderstorms to push in the way of some stronger wind gusts, maybe even some marginal hail. One other note to make of, and this is not a definition of severe weather, but we are in an area here in Allegan and Van Buren County. We saw over an inch of rain yesterday morning alone, and now you have picked up another inch of rain before these thunderstorms are even coming on shore. So could even contend with some localized flooding, especially in those low-lying, poor drainage areas. Now that is not a definition per se of severe weather, but that is still impactful and something to take note of. You can see just over the last 3 hours, those two thunderstorms that are progressing over Lake Michigan, heading on shore right now. Look at some of the rain that they are developing. We're talking well in over an inch of rain, maybe possibly even 2 inches of rain within the last 3 hours. And again, this is on top of all the rainfall yesterday morning and what we have even seen throughout the nighttime hours. So we'll have to keep an eye on some of that flooding concern in parts of Van Buren and Allegan County as the morning goes on.
Yeah, and we're seeing some of that ponding on the beach in our South Haven camera. I'll take us back to that so you can see here some of the water sitting on the beach surface. We know it takes a lot of water for it to puddle up like that on a beach. And so just making sure that you are staying off the roadways, staying in your safe shelter location until this storm has passed. Not only is it the threat of damaging winds as well as that tornado possible threat that the National Weather Service has listed this severe thunderstorm warning with, but there's also frequent thunder and lightning embedded within the storm. If we look at just the lightning alone, you'll notice how dense the lightning is south of South Haven. Zooming in here to see exactly where that's impacting. You can see just south of Van Buren as well, seeing those frequent thunder and lightning strikes, 62 light strikes total within that storm, 44 positive strikes. That typically means that the storm is stronger when you see more positive than negative lightning strikes. And if we look at the northern system, a bit more disorganized than the southern system. At first, that northern system really had my attention. It seems to be weakening slightly, but that does not mean that the warning is over. Those of you, Fenville, Glen, Saugatuck, Allegan, Shelbyville, Wayland, Dorr, you need to stay in your shelter location until this storm has passed. And if you're asking yourself, what exactly is my shelter location? That's going to be in your basement. If you do not have a basement, interior room with no windows. If you're just joining us, maybe you were trying to tune in to GMA. The reason that we are breaking into your coverage early on this morning is because of 2 severe thunderstorm warnings that are currently at play. Both of those severe thunderstorm warnings right now are hatched with a tornado threat. When that occurs, we take the liberty of covering anything that you're trying to watch, and that's mainly because if there is a tornado possible, we need to make sure that you're getting the most accurate and up-to-date information as we watch the progression of this storm moving to the east at 40 miles per hour. We're talking 60+ mile per hour wind gusts embedded within it, as well as frequent thunder and lightning. Glen to Holland, that's the northern cell that's going to be impacted the strongest, and then down through the Benton Harbor region up through South Haven, that's the secondary cell that we're watching closely. Blake, do we have a storm report that's come in?
Yeah, just keeping an eye here real quickly. Just want to make note of what this storm report here is. This was, I think, from maybe yesterday. Yeah, this was from yesterday. But we had a storm report, 51 mile per hour wind gusts at one of the buoy points to the west of Saugatuck. It's about 30 miles offshore, so over the heart of Lake Michigan, but indicating some of those stronger wind gusts in these thunderstorms. 51 miles per hour, that's technically sub-severe, but 50 mile per hour wind gusts, that can cause some damage, no doubt about it. And as these storms hold their intensity, we can still see those 50 to 60+ mile per hour wind gusts mixed down to the surface, which was the case with this storm report on the buoy point to the west of Saugatuck. Noticing over the course of the last hour or so, these thunderstorms really got their act together as they crossed Lake Michigan, now making their way on shore. You can see that these are 2 separate thunderstorms, one heading into Allegan County, one heading into Berry and Van Buren County. There has been a little bit of broad rotation with these storms, nothing that's indicating that there is any tornado threat as of now, but with the nature of these thunderstorms, because they are individual, they are kind of holding on their own momentum, there is the possibility we could see some of that broad rotation mixed down to the surface and see that spin up potential. That is what we're keeping an eye on as these storms make their way on shore. I want to make it clear, if you are watching near and north of 96, you're in Grand Rapids, you're in Muskegon watching, no concern this morning for severe thunderstorms. You're just dealing with some locally heavy rain that we've been talking about for several days now. That is continuing this morning. If there's any impact for you north of 96, it's your basic hydroplaning concern, maybe some localized flooding in those poor drainage areas. But it is those 2 thunderstorms, one of which heading into Allegan County, one of which that's already now made its way on shore in northern Berrien County, heading into Van Buren County, right along I-94, so heading towards Hartford, Lawrence, for example, towards Paw Paw. Those are our 2 thunderstorms that we're really keeping an eye on over the course of, we'll say, the next hour.
And quickly here, if you scan that QR code that I've just put up on your screen, you're able to share with us any photos or videos of these storms. Now we ask that you wait until the storm damage has passed before you head outside to take any pictures of damage. Now, if you're not too savvy with the QR code, don't worry, 616-559-1310. That is the phone number that you can actually text those photos, reports, rainfall totals straight to our number, and that's going to help to allow you to make sure that you're getting those reports not only to us, but to the National Weather Service as well. Now, a current look at our satellite and radar. If you are just joining us, this is a very active situation. We have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, 1 thunderstorm warning from Glen stretching up through Holland, making its way onto land right now. Embedded within this storm, 60 mile per hour wind gusts, and we've also seen areas of broad rotation and weak signatures of hail. Our southern storm, which does look to be a bit more potent, a little bit stronger, making its way south of Van Buren down through the Benton Harbor region. This storm is now completely on land and holding form. Because of that, we ask everybody in Van Buren County as well as Allegan County to continue to seek shelter from this storm. If you're asking yourself why we're staying in wall-to-wall coverage, that's because of the way that the National Weather Service has listed this storm, with the potential for a tornado possible embedded. Typically with just a severe thunderstorm warning, we ask you to wait it out. You don't necessarily need to be in your shelter location, but with this system itself, we ask that you stay indoors and remain in that shelter location. If you're curious where this storm is headed and how quickly it's going to get there, I'll go ahead and draw a track on the heart of the storm itself. It's going to continue to work off to the east at 40 miles per hour, making its way towards Paw Paw by about 7:40, Allegan 7:45. So that means those of you Wayland, Dorr, Middleville also seeing that storm between 7:50 to 8 o'clock this morning, and then continuing to work off towards Hastings by the time we hit closer to the 8:30 time frame. I do anticipate these storms to weaken once they pass Allegan and Van Buren County. And the main reason for that is that, well, it's the early morning hours. Temperature-wise, we're not very conducive for these storms to continue to strengthen. And we have seen moderate to heavy rainfall since 2 o'clock this morning. Typically, an environment like that would not be one that we would see supercells really strengthen and be fueled. But right now, the dynamics over the lakeshore, our water temperatures sitting in the low 70s, as well as this rainfall and a little bit of a jet that's rolling into the storm, allowed them to get that little bit of extra oomph to them to strengthen to severe strength. The rest of our showers are relatively run-of-the-mill. Now what you're seeing on your screen are rainfall reports from over the last 12 hours. We've seen anywhere from a ½ an inch to over 1.5 inches of rainfall, and these reports are only going to get higher as these storms make landfall. But if you are located in, let's say, Muskegon, Ludington, Big Rapids, Grand Rapids, and over towards Ionia, you do not have anything to be concerned about in terms of severe weather. It's just our two southern counties of Allegan and Van Buren County that are currently underneath this severe thunderstorm warning. Blake, are there any updates that we've received over the last couple minutes here?
Nothing of newer information, but yeah, by far it remains in place, the severe thunderstorm warning, at least for another 30 minutes, unless the National Weather Service of Grand Rapids decides to cancel this warning early. As of now, they're holding it on until 8 o'clock. I do think that, as of now, our main concern with these thunderstorms will be some locally damaging straight line winds, as of now, because when we take a look at some of the velocity products through radar. So this is measuring wind or sampling the wind across West Michigan. Not noticing any tight rotation over the last 30 minutes. It looks pretty broad. When we see these reds and greens somewhat close together, it does make you want to have a closer eye on them, because that does indicate there could be some rotation in this thunderstorm. Now, having said that, we're not seeing anything that we call tight or somewhat of a couplet, and that would indicate a stronger signature for rotation. But as of now, with these greens and reds somewhat loosely together, it makes me think more in the way of straight line wind. Still dangerous, still severe weather. And the same thing goes to the north, the thunderstorm that's making its way just to the south now, the core of this storm into the Saugatuck area. Notice that nothing that is showcasing any tight rotation, but when we see these bright greens pop up on our velocity signature here, it does indicate that there are some stronger wind gusts associated with this thunderstorm. Now, are they mixing down to the surface? A little hard to say as of now, because where the radar site is located at the Ford International Airport, all the way to the west of the lakeshore, that's about a few thousand feet in our atmosphere where these winds are being sampled, but still indicating that this thunderstorm has a little bit of oomph to it and could mix down to the surface if it holds its strength over the course of the next, we'll say, 30 to 45 minutes. Some of these storms, it's echo tops, or the height of the storm, pretty impressive, Sam. Seeing that Van Buren storm, some of those storm tops 45,000 feet into our atmosphere. Anytime you get storms over 40,000 feet, yeah, they're a bit on the strong side, and that's what we're seeing with that one thunderstorm heading into Van Buren County. The one that's making its way into Allegan County, roughly around 35,000 feet. So just indicating there is some strength. It's holding its momentum as it makes its way on shore. But for now, it does appear that our main concern with these thunderstorms will be some stronger wind gusts. But we really do need to keep an eye on the spin up tornado potential with these thunderstorms. That is in the description of these severe thunderstorm warnings for Allegan and Van Buren County as we make our way into the back end of this 7 o'clock hour.
And anytime that we do see those thunderstorm heights exceeding that 40,000 mark, that's when we start to say, okay, there's a strong updraft going into this storm. When you have a lot of flow going into a storm, that perpetrates the amount that's going out of the storm as well, which means heavier rainfall coming out as well as stronger winds. It also sometimes can be an indicator that there's potentially hail inside the storm. If we look here, we're getting a little bit of a stronger hail signature just north of Hartford and just north of Lawrence. And again, the higher the storm height, the higher it gets into the atmosphere, the colder the atmosphere gets as it gets higher up. And that is what sometimes can transition precip types right over to hail. Not quite that simple, but that's the best way that I can put it for you. So we'll continue to monitor these storms not only for strong damaging winds, but also the potential for hail. Hail potential looks to be a little bit lower, those of you Holland stretching down through Glen. Blake, we had a couple alerts go off there. Were those indicating anything or?
Nothing new. It's still
Okay.
holding on to the same severe thunderstorm warning that again is in place until 8 o'clock this morning. Allegan, Van Buren County for those thunderstorms that are now making their way onshore. There it is. There's a closer look at our current look of radar. And it looks a little messy right now because we have so much rain with these thunderstorms, but the characteristic is showcasing that we do have some broad rotation supported aloft in our atmosphere with these thunderstorms, indicating what we call supercell thunderstorms. And that gives us a better, or at least more confidence that they do present some straight line wind threat and also a little bit of a hail threat. And also keeping an eye what Sam is showing here right now inside the storm from a velocity standpoint, where we're sampling the winds in our atmosphere, that there could be some broad rotation, and we really need to keep a closer look if some of this can mix down to the surface. Of course, with the text of severe thunderstorm warning from the National Weather Service that a tornado is possible, that does really elevate our eyes on this storm.
Yeah, watching each radar scan closely, because especially when we have moderate to heavy rainfall coming down, it can actually kind of hide, right, these cells inside the storm, and that's where it grabs our attention even more. Typically, we don't see storms the way Oklahoma does or Kansas does. We often see rain-wrapped storms, and that's the case again this morning with heavy torrential rainfall coming down across the region. And while yes, there is moderate to heavy rain coming down for those of you Oceana County near the Hart region, as well as stretching through portions of Muskegon County, extending into the Sparta region. These areas, while you could potentially experience flooding within the next few hours or so, not necessarily seeing the severe threat, the frequent thunder and lightning, the heavy downpours of rain, as well as the system itself that's causing the National Weather Service to put us underneath this severe thunderstorm warning. If you're just joining us this morning, we have that tornado possible threat in place for both Allegan as well as Van Buren County. These storms are continuing to track off to the east at about 40 miles per hour. And I understand if you've been watching for a while, we might sound a bit repetitive, but people come and go. They've got a busy lifestyle in the morning. They may just be now checking in on the weather for the first time this morning as they get to head out the door. We ask if you are located in these two counties that you seek shelter until this warning expires or has passed your area. As of right now, even those of you right along the lakeshore boundary are just now seeing the start of the most impacts of this storm, or are just still seeing the storm for the storm down towards the Benton Harbor region start to clear out of your area. So you still need to give yourself another 20 to 30 minutes before it jaunts off to the east and you're in the clear. Allegan, you will see this storm within the next 10 to 15 minutes. Those of you in Kalamazoo, you're not underneath a warning right now, but the storm will continue to push eastbound over the next, let's say, 45 minutes or so. If the National Weather Service does extend their severe thunderstorm warning into Kalamazoo County, we would make sure to recut in to check on things here. Returning back to the velocity map, because the reason that we're staying in wall-to-wall coverage is the potential for tornadic activity embedded within this storm itself. We are continuing to see rotation for those of you that are located just north of Sister Lake. This looks like it's Water Villette. I wish I knew how to say that name a little bit better. It's kind of tiny on our screen, but Paw Paw Lake, Hartford, you are also seeing the rotation of this storm tracking across the 94 corridor at this time. It's very weak, very broad rotation, but also indicating strong damaging winds embedded within the system itself. Tracking that storm a little bit further north, it does look like the heart of the storm has shifted south just slightly. That's not to say that you're completely out of the woods in Saugatuck. It's just the area of broad rotation that we're watching is now to the south of the Saugatuck region. It actually looks like M89 and the 196 corridor to the south there, stretching down through South Haven, does have the highest risk for rotation, while everybody else potentially experiencing those strong damaging wind gusts along with that system as well. Broader picture of our satellite and radar showing off that moderate to heavy rainfall continuing to come down. Blake, do you want to talk a little bit about the potential flooding risk that could come along with today's system?
Yeah, so of course yesterday morning we had a few thunderstorms that developed mostly near and south of the Holland area. Parts of Allegan, Van Buren County picked up over 3/4 to an inch of rain. We did dry out for the most part yesterday afternoon, but we already have a saturated ground, and we've really have picked up the rainfall since around midnight this morning, and now we're extending into the morning hours and really adding on to the rainfall. And these storms are producing some torrential rainfall, so easily probably another inch or so of rain reaching the ground within the last 30 minutes in parts of Allegan and Van Buren County. So if you're in an area that typically floods, maybe some poor drainage areas, some of those low-lying areas, definitely could see that there could be some localized flooding, and kind of noticing that in a little bit of our Holland cameras in the Civic Center there. We're going to try to take a better look there. It looks like there could be some minor flooding going on at the Civic Center there in the Holland area. But generally speaking, this is what's our main threat that we talked about over the last 48 hours was the potential for some localized flooding because of this rain event that's ongoing, upwards of 1 to 2+ inches of rainfall over the course of a pretty quick span here in the last 12 hours. Yeah, there's a better look at the Civic Center. You can see at least some ponding there in the parking lot.
Absolutely, and this is why we do have our 13 weather impact alert in play for today. Now through noon, we are going to continue on with the chances for this heavy soaking rainfall and a few embedded thunderstorms within the system itself. I will say our thunderstorm threat will likely come to a close with these 2 supercells that are moving in off the Lake Michigan boundary, but we do continue on with the flooding concern until about noon today, and then this system itself clears the area. But until then, we got to continue to watch this system closely. Lots of thunder and lightning embedded within the storms, making it just now to the north of Decanter and then eventually entering into the Kalamazoo Schoolcraft area. Those of you in Allegan County, as well as Allegan itself, Wayland, Dorr, this storm is headed to your neck of the woods. The good news, Blake, is that we have yet to see any really strong couplets, unless you're now checking the newest run of our velocity map. Are you noticing anything?
I really think that the storm that's being highlighted here, and actually they are going to, I think we are going to see a tornado warning get issued right now. And this is what I was just going to mention was the Van Buren storm. That storm really looks to be where we is taking over as the strongest thunderstorm, and of course the National Weather Service is sensing that as well, as they have now just issued a tornado warning for Van Buren County. The storm in Allegan County still strong, still severe warned, but it does look like a lot of the momentum is being scurried out from this storm that's across Van Buren County. So a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado just to the east of Hartford, which is just a little bit north of I-96, right on the spine here. I'm actually going to try to turn on a different product here, Sam. There we go. And this is what we're keeping an eye on. This is a tornado warning for Van Buren County, really the southern half of Van Buren County. If you are near I-94, Hartford towards Lawrence, Paw Paw, for example, you are in this thunderstorm's path. It is time to take shelter, time to head to your safest spot of where you are at this moment, whether that be your home. If you are at work already, it is time to head to the safest spot of that home or building, because this is a now severe thunderstorm that is now tornado warned. And this is in play until 8:30 this morning. Here's a better look. You can see all the lightning being detected too with this thunderstorm. This has really been taking off the last 10 minutes or so, Sam.
And some of the major crossroads here within this tornado warning is, of course, the I-94 corridor, so we need to take that very seriously. Also, M40 near the I-94 corridor and M51 within the heart of this storm. This system is continuing to move off to the east. It's the rotation within the storm that is concerning at this hour. We're going to continue to monitor it closely. For a while there, we were thinking to ourselves, okay, they look to be weakening, and now it's taken about 20 to 30 minutes of it interacting with land for us to really start to see this storm strengthen.
Yeah, this is where we're going to now really take a look at inside the storm. This is, again, we've been showing this product here and there throughout the last 40 minutes. This is a look at velocity, a sampling of wind in our atmosphere from the radar site at the Ford International Airport. And this is our concern right in here. Try to get our arrows here. This is our concern. That we're seeing those greens and reds, the inbound and outbound winds. So green indicating inbound winds towards the radar site at the Ford International Airport, and the reds, that's outbound winds away from the radar site. And anytime you see a little bit of a tighter couplet, these colors somewhat niched together, well, that's indicating that there is at the very least some spin, some rotation in this thunderstorm. And there at least is enough of a signature now that this could be making its way to ground level, possibly of a spin-up tornado. Now, I do want to make this clear, there is no confirmed tornado with this severe thunderstorm. This is a radar indicated tornado. Just as dangerous. It is still one of those situations. It's time to use those severe thunderstorm safety tips we talk about all year long, even in the wintertime that we talk about. It's time to use those tips. Head to your safe space, head to that safe shelter in your home, as we do have a now tornado warning for Van Buren County until 8:30 this morning. We are still holding on to the severe thunderstorm warning across the northern half of Van Buren County and also the entirety of Allegan County until 8 this morning. But really the focus is this now southern thunderstorm, this supercell thunderstorm across the southern half of Van Buren County.
And I want to zoom in here to show you where this storm is headed. It's in Van Buren County. That definitely has our attention now. Decanter, Lawrence, Paw Paw. You are the main areas that are being impacted by this storm, and then it will make its way towards the Portage region. We know Portage has been heavily impacted by severe weather already this year, and I know that your eyes are now on this storm as it makes its way towards you. So I'm going to throw a track on this. If you are already in that tornado warning, the time is now to be in your shelter location. If you are to the east of this storm, we want to make sure that you're making preparations in the case that there is a storm on the ground itself. It is moving off to the east at around 40, is this still moving at the same rate here? 35 miles per hour. This system is going to make its way towards Matawan by 7:55, making it to Schoolcraft by around 8:11. And we are noticing some debris embedded within the storm at this time, just to the north of Sister Lake to the east of M51, it looks like, and the south of Hartford.
So what you're looking at here, folks, is this is now a product from radar as well that's trying to indicate meteorological items that are falling from these thunderstorms, such as rain, hail, but also trying to differ that from non-meteorological products that could be in our atmosphere, such as shingles, such as tree branches, and that's being indicated by some of these uniform colors of what you're seeing, like maybe bright neon to you, yellow, green, for example. That's indicating that there could be some debris being lofted from this thunderstorm in the same area where we're noticing rotation. And there is now, it looks like, Sam, a pretty strong indicator of rotation here just to the east of Keeler, heading towards Decatur within the next 15 minutes. If you are in the Decatur area towards Lawton, Paw Paw, for example, if you are right along I-94 just to the south, it is time to head to your basement, head to the safest spot of where you are located at right now, as this thunderstorm is really taking off. It really does appear that way.
Yeah,
over the
Decatur
last
is
10
the
minutes.
area that I'm most concerned about right now. You can see the rotation located here. I'm going to try to zoom in as far as I can.
Yeah, right in the heart of Keeler
Yeah,
Township.
Keeler Township. That is where there could potentially be a tornado. That is where we are seeing the strongest signature of rotation. This portion of meteorology might confuse you a little bit. The reds are the inbound winds going, or excuse me, the reds are the outbound winds going away from the tornado itself. The greens are the inbound winds going towards the radar itself. Anytime you see that couplet of outbound and inbound, that is your indication or your signature of rotation happening, which is why we need those of you in Decatur to be seeking shelter from the storm. We also need you to be staying off of the roadways. We do not want a situation where you're prioritizing getting to work over seeking shelter from the storm, especially with the signatures that we are now seeing as it intensifies, as it makes its way towards the east. We've seen a little bit of debris now being shown within the storm itself, in addition to the rotation embedded within the storm itself.
Yeah, this is the heart of this storm, the core, where we're seeing the greatest amount of rotation, possibly some of this debris signature right along M51. So this is heading right towards the Decatur area, Lake of the Woods, for example, the high school. This is right in that general area. If you know anyone that's staying at the Lake of the Woods and Greenwoods campgrounds, really make sure that they are heading to the shelter location in that area. The Timber Trails RV Park, for example, that's right off the lake. There, the Lake of the Woods, just to the west of Decatur. This is right in the path of this now warned severe thunderstorm that is now tornado warned all the way until 8:30 this morning. If it holds onto its path, yeah, Hamilton Township, Decatur Township, the heart of Decatur proper, this is where this storm is heading to, at least the core of the storm, with the rotation being detected, and also maybe possibly some of that debris as well.
And it always makes me weary to hear, Blake, you listing off campsites. I always love to reiterate, mobile homes, campsites, there is no safe shelter location. If you are in a tent or you know somebody who is camping in that area, get in your car. That is going to be a safer spot than staying within that tent, especially on a campsite where you are surrounded by trees as well. Continuing to see reports right now and debris signatures. Yeah, here's a report that we just received. We have a 40-mile-per-hour wind gust in Van Buren, 2 miles to the east-southeast of Hartford. That's not necessarily severe strength, and that's not what has our attention right now. It's that potential for a tornado on the ground embedded Lawrence, Pawpaw, Lawton, Matawan. Those are the areas that need to be seeking shelter from this storm.
And so, again, this is a very close-up look of this tornado-warned thunderstorm in the southern half of Van Buren County, and it's right in here, folks, that definitely concerned about, just because you can see that little bit of a notch indicating maybe even a bit of a hook trying to develop in this thunderstorm. We have some winds coming out of the south flowing into the thunderstorm, and then we have outbound winds on the backside of this system, and that's where we're seeing some of that rotation. And see, let's see, right in that arrow right there, yeah, you can see those greens and reds, the inbound and outbound winds closely together, what we try to refer to as a couplet. All you need to know is that anytime you have these inbound and outbound winds closely together on radar, that is indicating that there is some rotation in this thunderstorm. Again, I want to make this clear, is that where the positioning of this thunderstorm is at in southern Van Buren County, we're talking that the radar is picking up these winds probably a couple thousand feet from ground level. Having said that, there is enough of a signature heading right into the Decatur area that this could be mixing down to ground level, some of this rotation making its way to ground level. And on top of that, see those arrows that we're indicating just to the west of Decatur, the city itself. Notice that when we take a look at now this next product, which is our debris potential, we are noticing some non-uniform colors in that same area of where the greatest rotation is residing, giving us more confidence that this thunderstorm, at the very least, is providing some strong straight line winds. Strong straight line winds can do just as much damage as a weak spin-up tornado. So
We saw that in Muskegon.
We saw that in Muskegon. So again, we are really seeing some of this debris signature pick up over the last couple radar scans. And on top of it, Sam, this is a look at storm rotation. Look at the strong signature just within the last radar scan. When we're starting to see those shades of purple here on our storm rotation, that is really giving us an indicator that some of this might be just aloft in the thunderstorm, a couple thousand feet in the atmosphere, but actually mixing down to ground level. So again, if you are watching near I-94, right around M51, the Decatur area, the city itself, that is really indicating that there is some strong rotation heading in your direction and possibly a tornado, spin-up tornado on the ground. That is not confirmed, but we're really starting to see some characteristics via radar that's giving us better confidence this might be actual spin-up tornado. And notice, this is a look at hail potential. Those darker shades of red near and north of I-94, so the northern half of this tornado-warned thunderstorm might be dropping in some decent-sized hail, maybe upwards of 1 inch in diameter, possibly even more.
Now, I don't want to forget about our friends in Allegan County because you are still experiencing a severe warned thunderstorm with a tornado possible. I will say that the signatures within that storm do not look to be nearly as strong as the one that's working its way across the 94 corridor right now. I do ask you that until 8 a.m. you continue to stay in your shelter location, but because of the severity of the storm in Van Buren County and making its way towards Kalamazoo County, we are going to take our attention to that system itself. If you are just joining us, maybe looking to tune into GMA this morning, there is a tornado warning issued for Van Buren County. We ask that everybody inside this tornado warning, from Matawan, stretching down through Sister Lakes, over through Decatur, up through Lawrence, as well as Hartford, continue to seek shelter from this storm. I will say that those of you Sister Lakes, you are now really out of the main heart of this storm as well as its main impacts. But those of you in Lawton, Paw Paw, Lawrence, and Decatur, we ask that you continue to seek shelter from this storm itself. And I want to once again go back to that rotation because this is the best tool we have at hand right now to see where the rotation is currently lying at, how strong the couplet is. We talk about the inbound and the outbound winds, the inbound winds going towards the radar, the outbound winds going away from the radar, creating that circular motion in the atmosphere and indicating the potential for a tornado to be on the ground. We have no confirmation of a tornado on the ground at this time, but it is something that we will continue to monitor closely. And it looks like for those in Cass County as well as St. Joseph's County, they have also now extended the severe thunderstorm warning into that location, which are the alerts that you are hearing go off behind us. That severe thunderstorm warning also signatured with the potential for a tornado to be embedded within the storm, but it's still the one in Van Buren County.
That
looks to be the strongest.
Yeah, that definitely is our focal point here, and we're still seeing that strong signature, Sam, that there may be some debris lofted with this thunderstorm because we're seeing these non-uniform colors popping up. This might be indicating maybe tree damage. This could be indicating maybe shingles, for example. I do want to just make one quick note. We're going to send it over to Emily and Tanner just for a quick minute while we regroup here. But generally, if you know people or you are actually watching us just now, it's south of Lawton. This storm is over Decatur right now. But I just want to go a little bit ahead of the storm. If you know anyone, friends, family that are near or south of the Lawton area along M40 between Lawton and let's say the Marcellus area, it is time to head to the safest spot of your home or the building that you are in right now. If you are in a place that does not have a designated safe spot, it is now time to head to a spot that has a safe shelter location. So again, if the best spot is obviously a basement, but if you do not have a basement in your home, you want to put as many walls between you and the outside of that structure. So again, if you are watching from the Lawton area, no friends or family, it is time now to head to that safe space. We're going to send it over to Tanner and Emily. They're going to have a few things for us while we regroup.
All right, thank you guys.
Yeah, busy morning today. We
Sure
already
is.
have so much going on. I mean, can't forget that polls opened just an hour
I
ago
know.
for the primary elections, right as things outside started to pick up. And we don't want you to forget, we still have our Stuff the Bus campaign happening right now. There's the bus outside of our parking lot, and we'll help you avoid the rain too if you want to drop off those donations.
Yeah, of course, we should mention folks in Grand Rapids up to Big Rapids toward the lakeshore near Muskegon. You guys are all clear of the storm that's happening right now. Right now, our meteorologists are focusing on a tornado-warned storm for Van Buren County. We're talking places let's see, we've got Van Buren County, Hartford, moving towards Schoolcraft, places like that. So if you are in any places along the path of that storm, that I-94 corridor, you're going to want to get into your tornado-safe shelter. And we know that right now is the busy morning commute time, right? So we want to make sure we give you some car safety tips. Of course, if you're at home, don't get in your car right now. But if you know somebody who might be traveling to work, here are some tips that you might be able to pass along to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if that tornado is far away and traffic is light, you'll want to drive to the left or right out of that path if you just happen to come across some severe weather in that sense. Now, of course, we don't want you in your cars if you don't have to be. And if you're at home, you're wanting to seek shelter in a sturdy building or underground. And that's, of course, if you're not at home and are just needing to find that shelter elsewhere. Now, of course, if you are at home, Sam, Blake, they've been reminding you all morning long that you want to find that safe place inside your home. Of course, first would be your basement. But if you don't have that basement, you've heard them talk about finding that central room inside your home, hopefully with no windows. Stay there to stay safe.
You were just mentioning where you should go in a tornado. And for folks in Decatur, looks like Lawton and possibly Matawan, you will want to be in those shelters now. This is the time to act if you are not there already. So let's talk about power outages if we can. I know that we don't typically see power outages right now. We're not seeing many, which is some good news. And you might be wondering, hey, Tanner, why are you talking about power outages? This kind of helps us tell where the storm has been and how severe it has been as well. As you can see, we don't have many on the board there.
A couple
with
hundred,
Consumers
I think our
Energy.
producer was saying.
About 200 or so up toward, let's see, that one was reported early this morning. I actually have it on my iPad as well. But this was, let's see, first reported about 15 minutes ago, just south of Holland along Highway 40, south of Hamilton.
And
so
we like for you to be our eyes as well.
Yep.
If you're seeing things that are happening because of the storm and you're able to do so safely, we always ask that you take pictures or videos of any storm damage that you're seeing. You can text them to us, 616-559-1310. That's just one way to get them to us. You can email them as well. We do like to see what's happening outside, but again, only if you can do so safely.
again, we're talking about a good portion of Van Buren County right now. At this point, we have not seen this warning be extended over into Kalamazoo County, but we do know that folks in Van Buren County, especially if you are in that area near Pawpaw, Schoolcraft, places like that. Let's get it over to Sam Jack. She's at the wall right now. And of course, that was just approaching Decatur, that tight couplet was, Sam. So what's the latest on the storm?
The storm is still tornado warned at this time. We have a 13 weather impact alert day in effect. We have torrential rainfall coming down across the region, and now embedded within one of these storms is the potential for tornadic activity, and we're seeing some really clear indicators of that right now. Now, those of you, Lawrence, Hartford, Sister Lakes, you are now in the clear. You can come up from your shelter location. This storm is continuing to track to the east. Here's the heart of that rotation, moving over the Decatur region. This system is continuing to track eastbound. Those of you in Lawton, even Matawan, now not necessarily seeing the rotation up towards that area, but we ask that you still seek shelter from the storm itself. Broader picture of things here, this is a big system that's working throughout our area, but those of you Ludington, Muskegon, Grand Rapids, Big Rapids, you're clear from the heart of this. It's Allegan and Van Buren County that are seeing the two severe thunderstorm warnings, and in particular portions of Van Buren County right now that are seeing that tornado warned storm. What we look at closely in the case of a tornado is going to be the rotation within the system. And what you're seeing here is rotation rotation headed towards the storm and rotation headed away from the radar itself. It's this couplet of rotation that's giving us that clear indicator that there could potentially be a tornado on the ground. These signatures also can indicate very strong winds at the surface, and this is exactly why we want to make sure that you are seeking shelter from the storm itself. You can see here these are moving across major highways and expressways as well. That looks like it's M43 just to the south of the I-94 corridor. This system again is going to continue to work off to the east, and you were also noticing a little bit of debris signatures on the ground. What this is picking up on is things other than rainfall coming out of the system, and anytime we start to see additional bright colors come out of this system is when we're starting to note that maybe something's kicking up off the ground and being picked up by radar itself. Blake, I did hear and see that there's potentially either an extension of this tornado warning or also potentially a new tornado warning.
It's still the same tornado warning as of now. This is still for southern Van Buren County until 8:30 this morning. I would not be surprised, however, if they do extend this tornado warning into parts of Cass County as well. Again, we are still looking at the debris signature here. Folks, Sam and I are both in agreement here that this does look like there has been some debris lofted with this tornado warned thunderstorm in the Decatur area now to the south and east, just based on some of the other products we've been showcasing, such as velocity, so a sample of winds in our atmosphere. Anytime we have these greens and reds so closely together in the way, there's our latest scan. This looks like it is still holding its strength, Sam, and possibly even tightening a little bit more as the storm is now appearing to be traversing more to the east-southeast. So this is right on the Van Buren Cass County line. Am I right there?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's right on the line between the two counties, which is why I will not be surprised if the National Weather Service does extend this into Cass County as well. For those of you up towards Portage, Kalamazoo, it would be very understandable if your guards are up right now.
It does appear, Sam, that the National Weather Service will be issuing a narrow tornado watch that will include Kalamazoo, Calhoun, and Jackson counties on the northern edge. That should be coming down any minute now, and it's most likely due to this thunderstorm, this individual supercell thunderstorm that has enough characteristics to it that it will hold its momentum at least over the next hour or so, at least a short-term time frame here. It does appear that a narrow tornado watch will be coming in.
And if you need a refresher on what that exactly means, a tornado watch means that the time is now to prepare. So if you're in one of those counties listed, Blake, can you list those off one more time for me?
Yeah, it does appear that this will include Kalamazoo, Calhoun, and even Jackson County. So right along the I-94 spine, I would not be surprised that this probably will extend to the counties along the state line. Just a quick note for everyone, the bottom row of counties on the state line is actually associated with the National Weather Service of Northern Indiana, so a little bit outside of the Grand Rapids forecast area, but I would assume that the bottom two rows of lower Michigan will be in this tornado watch that will be issued probably within any minute now from the Storm Prediction Center.
Yes, and so if you're underneath that tornado watch, that's when we ask you to prepare for the storm, right? To make sure that you have your shelter location ready. If you are underneath the tornado warning, that means it is time now to take action. It is time now to seek shelter from this storm. That includes those of you in Matawan and Lawton. If you are located in Schoolcraft or Vicksburg, located in Kalamazoo County, I ask you now, you're not necessarily underneath this tornado warning. That is the direction that this storm is headed, and I want you to make sure you're proceeding with caution, coming up with a plan in case they do extend this into your area. Right now, this is a radar indicated tornado, which means there is no confirmation of this storm on the ground. We will continue on with this tornado warning until 8:30 in the morning, but would not be surprised if we see that tornado warning extended into Kalamazoo County in the coming hours. We also do still potentially have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for other portions of West Michigan. Nope, it looks like they have dropped the severe thunderstorm
Yes,
warning.
the severe thunderstorm warning is
for Allegan County.
is now expired. That
That's great.
expired just a few minutes ago at 8, so that is now, that's a silver lining here if you're watching from Allegan County. Yes, still some thunderstorm activity, some torrential rainfall, some thunder and lightning, but it does appear that thunderstorm we were tracking just a little bit ago, again, we had those 2 separate thunderstorms. The one that was progressing in the Allegan County has weakened to the point where it is now sub-severe at the very least. It is all about this supercell thunderstorm in parts of Van Buren, into Cass, even into St. Joseph County. That is going to be our attention over the next hour, and we will be staying on the air, interrupting Good Morning America because of the severity of this thunderstorm. You can really see just to the west of Marcellus, this was again the same thunderstorm that went through Decatur. This is a strong signature that there is being debris lofted with this tornado-warned thunderstorm. Again, we do not have any confirmation that there's an ongoing tornado on the ground, but some of the products that we look at from radar is really giving us the confidence to say that there at the very least are significant straight line winds coming through this general area. The southern half of Cass County, or I should say Van Buren County, right on the Van Buren Cass County line, and this would be heading into St. Joseph County within the next 20 to 30 minutes. I just want to go back to velocity here. And yeah, this is a pretty strong signature. We've got to let this catch up, the radar scan, but the last 30 minutes or so, we'll take a loop back here. You can really see, make this a little slower so folks can catch up here. You can really see that this storm has tightened up in the way of rotation, and that correlates with where we're seeing some of this potential debris lofted in the atmosphere, and also a little bit of a notch or hook in the southern half of this thunderstorm. There it is. You can really see how tight those greens and reds are together, indicating that there is some tighter rotation. Yes, this is being sampled a couple thousand feet above ground level, just based on how far away it is from the radar site at the Ford International Airport. And there it is. There's our tornado watch. Let me get to it. And there it is. Yep, this is going to include Kalamazoo, Calhoun, and even extend into Jackson County. And this is all the way until, look at that time frame there, 3 o'clock this afternoon.
That does surprise me that it extends that late into the day, considering this system will likely be wrapping up between noon to 1 o'clock. But with the nature of our environment right now, I'm sure that they are proceeding with caution, extending that a little bit further out. Now, I do want to ease the minds of those of you located really anywhere north of the 94 corridor right now. North of the 94 corridor, yes, we do have a couple thunderstorm cells that are working their way through Allegan County, headed towards the Hastings region, but that's a really weak thunderstorm cell. Shelbyville experiencing heavy bursts of rain as well as frequent thunder and lightning. Those of you towards the 96 corridor, Grand Rapids, once again kind of in that donut hole of not experiencing much rainfall while we're surrounded by downpours of rain coming down at this time. White Cloud, Hesperia, you might be saying to yourself, it is really raining. Are we experiencing severe weather? Do we have something to be concerned about? Not necessarily in the form of concerns that we are worried about with this tornado warned storm that's currently working through southern rural portions of Van Buren County. Now, the storm's track and trajectory is to the east, southeast, taking a little bit of a southeast spin. I want to pause this here, and I'm going to throw a track on the storm, because the most important thing is that if the storm is overhead for you, that you are seeking shelter from the storm itself. And then second to that is those of you in the path of the storm, making sure that you are finding your shelter location, knowing what it is that you're going to do in the case of this rotation headed overhead. Now, the clear couplet is currently sitting just to the north of Marcellus. Those of you in Decatur, almost in the clear from the storm, which is great news. Give it another 10 to 15 minutes in your shelter location, and then you can head on out. I'm going to put a track on this system. It's making its way pretty much eastbound, east-southeast slightly, so I'll tilt it just a little bit there. Let's see if it wants to. This is a really rural area, so sometimes when that happens, it struggles to pick up on cities in terms of where it's headed. But US 131, that is the track inbound of the storm. There we go, Schoolcraft, not underneath the tornado warning, but in somewhat of the path of this storm, 8:31 is when that arrives. As of right now, this tornado warning ends at 8:30. We could potentially see that extended into Kalamazoo County at that time. M40 and US 131, between those two regions, that's the path that this rotation is taking. Another thing, go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, and just to kind of put some better description road-wise, just to the north of Marcellus Road there between Flower Field Road, that appears to be that general location of where this storm is going to be happening. Yes, a little bit to the south of Schoolcraft and Vicksburg, as Sam mentioned. If you are watching from Schoolcraft or Vicksburg, friends or family that are in that area, they too need to be in their shelter area, no matter what residence or building they may be located as of now. I know we're getting past 8 o'clock, so some people already at work this Tuesday morning, but it does appear to be between Marcellus Road and Flower Field Road. Some of the other intersections would include Sheldon Creek Road, heading towards parts of, let's see here, Weatherby Road, for example. If you're at the intersection of Weatherby Road and Flower Field Road, that's where we're seeing this track head right in the direction of this now tornado-warned thunderstorm.
And it looks like they've tailored back the scope of the tornado, no longer including Lawrence, Hartford, and Decatur, pretty much safe from this storm itself. Let's take a look here at the potential rotation. Is that what you want to see, Blake?
Yeah, I'm kind of noticing a little bit of a donut hole, what we call, I'm kind of using this phrase loosely here, but in the sake of reflectivity, yeah.
There we go.
So, folks, what I'm trying to indicate here, I know that the National Weather Service is still holding on to that this is a radar-indicated tornado warning, but there is a lot of characteristics with this thunderstorm that makes me believe that there could be an ongoing tornado on the ground right now. We're going to go back to radar. I just want to showcase that we do have, I'm going to put on our best look here of radar. What I'm looking at, folks, right here is that notice we have all of the yellows and oranges and reds on the map indicating torrential rainfall. Of course, that's what's ongoing. But it's right in here. Notice this little kind of what appears to be a hole. That is indicating that this might be where there's an ongoing tornado, because when we put this in perspective, right in here, get this out of here, it matches up perfectly with where the heart of that rotation is at, with the greens and reds very tight together, what we call a couplet. When we also factor in, this is correlation coefficient, also known as our debris signature. This is just indicating non-meteorological versus meteorological products. And what we are noticing is some non-uniform colors on this map, possibly in the way of tree damage, branches being lofted up into the atmosphere, could be shingles, for example, on any structure or building, maybe some sheet metal, for example. All of this is indicating in the same general location of where we're seeing the tightest rotation. And you really can tell by our storm rotation, yeah, right to the north of Marcellus, now heading to the east of Decatur. This was really right over the heart of Decatur proper, and the township itself as well. All of these characteristics combined really makes me think, at the very least, Sam, that this could be an ongoing tornado. I don't want to worry folks, but this is the situation that we are in right now, with a tornado-warned thunderstorm for parts of now eastern Van Buren County into parts of Cass and St. Joseph County. And this goes all the way until 8:30 this morning, so we still have another 20 minutes.
Yep, and just making sure here, folks, that you understand we're never doing any of this to concern people. We're doing it to prepare you, to make sure that you at home know where to go, what to do, and who's being potentially threatened by these storms.
Exactly. We cover a huge area here in West Michigan. Big difference between Kalamazoo and Ludington, the distance here, and everyone is just as important to us. So again, this tornado warned thunderstorm is really starting to press out of Van Buren and Cass County, really heading into Kalamazoo County, the southeast or southwest corner of Kalamazoo County. That includes the Schoolcraft area until 8:45 this morning, and then the northern tier of St. Joseph County. I know this is a little bit of a fringe area of our viewing area, but again, if you have friends or family in this general area, let them know that there is a tornado warned thunderstorm that potentially has an ongoing tornado on the ground as of now, just based on what we're seeing.
And Blake, we were in Kalamazoo County months ago for the Portage tornado. The heart of this storm and the tornado-warned portion of this storm right now is to the south of Portage, which I'm sure gives you all a sigh of relief after the damage that you all experienced just a few months ago. But right now, Schoolcraft taking a close look here, US 131. Underneath that tornado warning. This is a radar indicated tornado, and when we say that, we mean that it's not necessarily been spotted on the ground, but that you need to take it just as seriously. Every new velocity scan that comes in continues to raise our alarms a little bit higher in terms of what could be happening at the surface with this storm. When we start to see those almost no longer green shades, right, almost giving this teal pale blue color, that can often signature very strong winds at the surface. And then when you look at the flow and the rotation of the storm itself, we'll put a little bit of a loop on this to see the storm's movement. We'll need to slow that down substantially in order to really see where the storm is headed. The main couplet of this storm is just to the north of Marcellus right now. And again, the storm is headed to the east. We've kind of seen
newest scan there.
There's
Yep.
the newest scan starting to update.
So really almost now passing the
Marcellus.
Marcellus area, just to the south of Flower Field. Again, this is right along.
216, right?
Yep, I would say so. Yep, this is heading right towards 131. Obviously, that's a little bit of a concern. We're at 8:15 in the morning. We're right kind of in the peak of our Tuesday morning work commute. This is generally in a rural area, but important still, as this as a tornado-warned thunderstorm that really has showed some characteristics that this might be more than just a radar-indicated tornado. We do not have any confirmation that there's an ongoing tornado, but just based on what Sam and I have been seeing all morning long, at least over the last, we'll say 20 to 25 minutes, the rotation that's being indicated, some of the debris signature, and all that combined together is giving us some confidence that this is definitely a storm not to mess around with. This is now heading into the Flower Field area. For example, Pineview Golf Club heading towards Bittersweet Pet Resorts near the Dollar General. That's on the other side of 131. This is heading towards somewhat a few businesses in this area, a lot of auto shops, for example. The Auto Body USA Three Rivers. We have the Citgo gas station along 131 and 216. These are all just general markers of where the core of the storm is heading to within the next several minutes.
Anytime, Blake, that we see rotation in a storm, of course, we ask a few things of our viewers, and that includes to seek shelter from the storm. And if you're questioning whether or not you have a safe shelter location, we want you to know that it's in a basement. That's going to be your #1 safest spot to seek shelter from this storm. Second to that would be an interior room with no windows. That's where you're going to reside. And then third to that is going to be if you're stuck out on the roadways, if you are in a camper, in a campsite, and can't get into a sturdy foundation building, that you are in your car with your seatbelt on and your car turned on, so that way, if there were to be any damage to the car, the airbags do deploy at that time. Now, this is part of a broader system right now of rainfall and thunder showers that are working throughout a majority of West Michigan, but the only area that is seeing the amount of activity that we are on radar is down towards southern Van Buren County as well as into Kalamazoo County. Now, for the most part, those of you in portions of Van Buren County are nearly done with this storm, which is great news. You're going to be able to come out of your basements, out of your shelter location within the next 20 minutes at best if you are in southeast corner of Van Buren County. But right now, for those of you located in Kalamazoo County, including areas of Schoolcraft, that southwest corner of Kalamazoo County, we ask that if you are not in your shelter location already, that you seek shelter from this system. We not only have a tornado warning in play, but we also have a tornado watch that has been issued for portions of our area, including Kalamazoo County, including Jackson County, as well as Cass County. That tornado watch remains in effect until 3 p.m. this afternoon. At that time, all of this rainfall will depart our region. We will be left under much clearer and much quieter conditions. We're going to switch over here to the debris within the storm. One thing that we struggle with a storm that is this far away from the radar, remember, our radar is located in Grand Rapids, is that as a radar pans, it kind of looks like an ice cream cone, right? At the heart of the radar, it's really, really close, and then as it pans away, that radar beam gets higher and higher into the atmosphere in the same shape that an ice cream cone kind of works. The further away that you get, the weaker those signatures can also become. So the fact that we're seeing some of these debris signatures, the fact that we're seeing rotation at the surface can be a really disheartening or scary sign in a way, because that means that there's a high likelihood that it's happening at the surface. But the biggest thing that you can do right now is seek shelter from the storm. Call your family, call your friends that maybe don't typically see this coverage, and make sure that they're aware that this storm is moving to the east at a cadence of about 30 to 40 miles per hour. This storm has torrential rainfall embedded within it, frequent thunder and lightning, as well as this couplet of rotation that has had Blake and I's attention for the last, 30 minutes or so. You can see that a tornado warning has now been extended down a little bit further south into Cass and St. Joseph County. Not necessarily quite our viewing area, but we do want to make sure that you are aware of that additional tornado warning, including places such as Three Rivers. I do want to just keep our focus right now on southwestern portions of Kalamazoo County. Blake, anything new that you've seen within the storm?
Nothing new. It does appear that if there is a threat now, again, it is, if you're in the southwestern corner of Kalamazoo County, tornado warning ongoing. Time to head to that safe shelter, safe place. It does appear the bulk of rotation where we are keeping a close eye on any tornado potential is actually a little bit south of the Kalamazoo County line. Again, it is still needed if you are south of I-94 in Kalamazoo County from the Schoolcraft area towards, let's say, Vicksburg, for example, and even extending eastward towards Fulton, for example, north of M66 in the Leonidas area. It is time to head to the safest spot of whatever structure you may be in right now. It does appear if there's any bigger threat, maybe some marginal hail, torrential rain, frequent thunder and lightning, maybe even some stronger wind gusts on the northern tier of this tornado warned thunderstorm. But it does look like, for the most part, that the bulk of any tornado threat is progressing into St. Joseph County now. This was in Van Buren County. It moved its way a little bit more to the east-southeast, clipping the north and east half of Cass County, and now is extending into the northwestern half of St. Joseph County. And you can really see that just based on our velocity signature here. These bright greens, bright reds closely knotted together, indicating that there is some tighter rotation across this general area. And when we kind of put the look of rotation, here's just another characteristic. Yeah, you can still see there is a stronger indication from radar that there is rotation in this tornado warned thunderstorm. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we do have some reports, Blake. Sorry to interrupt you. These are actually out of Allegan County, an area that was warned about an hour ago for a severe thunderstorm warning. There are reports of trees down in Valley Township, Heath Township. Those are in Allegan County. And Tanner Holbrook, our morning anchor, is on standby right now. Tanner, if you could get that information over to the newsroom so that we can make sure we get a crew headed that way. I know we have a crew headed down to the Decatur region to check out damage, but that is the area right now that we're watching closely.
For folks that don't know, those...
I'll get that information to you. Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, the folks that maybe not familiar with where some of these townships are, Heath Township, for example, into parts of, let's see, that was Valley Township, you said, Sam. That is generally just south of Hamilton. to the west of Allegan. So Lake Allegan itself, the Swan Creek Marsh, that is the general area, those two townships where they're located across Allegan County, so to the east of Fenville, for example. And we did see some stronger wind gusts from velocity as that storm made its way over the heart of Allegan County. We're at about 45 minutes ago. Do want to make our way back to just regular radar here. Try to get a better enhanced look. There we go. And you can see that there is plenty of lightning associated with this storm, those negative and positive strikes. If this continues on its path over the next, we'll say, 45 minutes, it does appear it's heading in that southeasterly direction. We are talking to the north of Three Rivers, the Centerville area, so traversing still the northern half of St. Joseph County, and then possibly heading towards the Coldwater area if this thunderstorm holds its momentum and strength.
And at this time, the tornado warning for southeastern portions of Van Buren County has expired, and you are no longer in the threat of this storm itself. So if you have been seeking shelter, you can now safely come out of your shelter location. The main areas being impacted right now are extending down into Cass County, as well as just the southwest corner of Kalamazoo County, where that current tornado warning is in effect. We continue on. It's actually Cass and Joseph County, I should say, just to the south of Kalamazoo County, with Three Rivers as well. If we look at the storm, we have now extended the tornado warning in Joseph County until 9 a.m. For Kalamazoo County, zooming in, see if it will give us a new timestamp here for those of you in Kalamazoo County. Okay, it doesn't want to quite do that for me. There we go. By 8:45, that does expire. Until that time, we ask that you continue to seek shelter from the storm. I'm going to try to put a few more points location on the map here so that you can tell where the storm is headed. Now, throughout the day today, many of us are not going to be experiencing severe weather in the way that this system is currently producing. We are mainly going to see heavy rainfall working throughout the region, and even those of you along the lakeshore starting to see some clearing as our low pressure system departs the region. But it doesn't necessarily need to be tornado damage or wind damage that you're reporting to us and to the National Weather Service. You can also report to us any sort of flooding that you may be experiencing in those areas. You can text that to 616-559-1310 if you are experiencing any flooding or any severe damage. Those of you in Allegan County, we've had a few reports of some trees down in Allegan County from this morning's severe thunderstorm warning, and we would love to continue to receive those reports so that we can pass them along to the National Weather Service. We're losing a little bit of our signatures in terms of debris, which is great news. Not quite as high of correlation, or I want to say not as bright of colors. That typically indicates that we're not seeing things lofted into the sky quite as much as maybe we were concerned about 10 to even 15 minutes ago. Looking at the rotation of the storm,
Still there, but I agree
broader.
with you. A little bit broader in the rotation being at least detected via radar. So this thunderstorm could be slightly weakening, which would obviously be a great thing as it continues to push to the south and east. This looks like it will just be to the north of Three Rivers. This is really the heart of this storm, crossing 131 at this point between Three Rivers and Flowerfield, heading towards into Branch County pretty soon once it heads a little bit past St. Joseph County within the next hour, if it continues on its strength, its momentum.
Yep, and that radar couplet showing that the outbound winds of the storm, that's our red shade. That means that the winds themselves are moving away from the thunderstorm. And then you have our shades of green, which are your inbound winds, meaning that they are moving towards the radar itself. So you have these winds circulating in and out of the thunderstorm, and you can probably picture in your head that circular motion that could potentially be happening within our sky. Hopefully we continue to see this storm weaken Michigan. As we have in our last radar scan, we will get another update within the next 4 minutes or so in our next radar scan of where it's headed.
Yeah, and I do want to go back for those that are just joining us. It is about 8:28 now on this Tuesday morning. We have been in nonstop coverage since about just shy of 7 o'clock, Sam, that when that first severe thunderstorm warning came in at about just before 7 for Van Buren and Allegan County, and then this transitioned over to a tornado warning for Van Buren County, and it has continued now into a little bit of Kalamazoo County, the very southern tip of Kalamazoo County, but now into Cass, into St. Joseph County. This is getting to the fringe of our viewing area. We're still going to let this go through its entirety over the next half hour with us being still in close proximity to these counties. But if you are watching, I want to expand the view here for everyone else watching us across West Michigan. If you are watching from Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Holland, you do not have a current severe threat for severe weather, and I don't think you will see one the rest of this morning. This is all going to be situated now the rest of this morning for those that are near and south of I-94 to the Michigan state line. So if you're watching again from Hastings, you're watching from Lansing, you're watching from Ionia, you are not under a severe weather threat as of now, and we do not believe you will be the rest of this morning. So not saying to let your guard down completely. You want to be weather aware with the ongoing heavy rainfall here and there, but by far, the tornado warning that we are speaking of right now is generally near and south of I-94. Will continue to progress for those counties closer to the state line, so places like Jackson, Hillsdale, for example. If this extended into the east side of the state, for those that are near Monroe, Dundee, for example, those are general markers that could see severe weather later this morning. If you're back watching towards Pentwater, Ludington, you are not going to see severe weather the rest of this morning. And then we have, this looks like another continuation of that tornado warning.
Yep, continuing to push it down further into Cass and St. Joseph County. Soon this will clear our viewing area, and we will be able to wrap up our coverage for those of you interested in catching the last half hour of GMA. I will say I don't see, I want to check before I say this. I want to look into our velocity scan here to make sure. I'm not seeing much in the way of rotation left
it's definitely
in Kalamazoo County.
becoming a little bit broader in nature.
St. Joseph, I would still continue to stay in your shelter location just north of Three Rivers, and Three Rivers included. Kalamazoo County, you are in the clear. You are still underneath the tornado warning, but those of you, Schoolcraft, Vicksburg, you can go ahead and exit your shelter location, come on up from the basement, move around your house freely, head to work, whatever it is that you need to do as that system continues to work off to the south and east of you.
And notice that while there is still some broad rotation, this is by far weaker compared to what we just dealt with an hour ago. This is a little bit of the loop. Notice how strong this rotation was as it passed right through pretty much Decatur itself. This is southern Van Buren County, right to the north of Marcellus, so that's part of Cass County, still holding on to that strong rotation. And then over the last couple of radar scans, north of Three Rivers, still some broad rotation, but definitely becoming weaker in nature. We're seeing that in our velocity product, the nature of wind, and also that debris signature becoming a little less representative compared to just 30, 45 minutes ago.
And I want to remind all of our viewers at home exactly how they can report storm damage to us right now as this kind of exits the heart of our viewing area. I want to make sure that you're aware what it is that you can do to go ahead and submit those severe reports. Looking for a specific graphic for you here if I'm able to find it. What you can do is text those reports to 616-559-1310. That phone number gets directly to our inbox, and it makes it really, really easy. Here's the graphic I was looking for you. It makes it really, really easy for us to be able to see those reports. We really prefer you to include an image or a video along with that report of damage. But if, of course, severe enough, we will send a crew out your way to assess the damage and get the National Weather Service over there as well. If that phone number is too tricky for you to remember, you can scan this QR code that's up up on your screen right now. This QR code will take you to a website that will directly lead you to being able to submit any of those damage reports. I want to take one final broad look at things here as this does exit the heart of our viewing area before we wrap up coverage. Remember, everybody to the north of the St. Joseph region now is no longer underneath a severe threat. We do still have an ongoing tornado warning in St. Joseph County. This tornado warning remains in effect until 9 a.m. because for the most part, this is well out of our viewing area in West Michigan and who actually receives our signal here at WZZM. We are going to wrap up our coverage relatively quickly here.
Yeah, I think one last note for those that are, if you have friends or family that are in St. Joseph County, into Branch County, so that would include the Coldwater area, a little bit to the south, that's heading towards the Michigan state line into portions of Indiana and Ohio. This is generally where this supercell thunderstorm is traveling, more of a southeasterly direction now over the last half hour, Sam. So again, this is extending even probably, if this holds its momentum, will be south of the state within the next hour. So this is the concern if you have friends or family, again, in parts of St. Joseph, Branch, even Hillsdale County. Just let them know that, yeah, this is an ongoing tornado warrant thunderstorm and traveling in its direction.
Well, to those of you who have been following along with our coverage since the end of our 6 o'clock show this morning, we really appreciate you sticking through this with us, and we hope that you can continue to trust us to bring you the most accurate weather forecast. For the 13 Weather Impact team, I'm meteorologist Samantha Jackson. This is meteorologist Blake Hansen. We'll continue to watch radar closely throughout the coming hours.
This has been a 13 Weather Impact Alert.